Hey guys, what we have for you today is some vintage stuff, gold, and over here is vintage. The red and white over here is not. The declaration brush here is a B4, and it's got the cane handle, and it's a declaration handle as well. This is a gold rocket, gold Gillette rocket. Of course, the rocket's a vintage piece. The PolSilver here is a stainless. It's not the super iridium. It's a discontinued blade. That's just the stainless PolSilver. It's been doing very well for me in a couple different razors. I'm going to try it in the rocket today. And then we're going to be using the vegan base of Pere Lucien. And I believe this scent, it doesn't say what it is. I believe it's the traditional. The current traditional label has a colored ring around it and it says traditional, but I believe this might be the label of a past version of the traditional scent. If some of you guys know exactly what it is, then please enlighten me. You can see kind of a watermark in there in the middle. There's like I don't know if it's a wheel, a world, or, a captain's wheel, steamship kind of wheel thing there. I'm not sure exactly. But the ingredient list on the bottom of the tub doesn't show any sign of tallow. Now, why are we using that today? Well, Le Pere Lucien was voted as one of the top soaps that you guys wanted to see me work with, as I am working without a nose due to COVID these days. And it's a base I don't turn to very often because the scents are kind of light. And I did discover that I enjoyed the base of the Oud Santal, but that's a tallow base. That's got some tallow in it. And Warren was a viewer, and he remembered that his Le Pere Lucien, we'll call it LPL, his was he didn't remember it being quite as nice of a lather, so he went back and worked with it, and it was junk, he said. And then he looked a little more closely after maybe my second time with a good lather from it, and he found out that his was the vegan base. And so that's why I fished out my vegan base. And I told him via the comment that I also remembered kind of having a crap lather with the LPL. And it's kind of an expensive soap. You do get 200 grams in your tub, and they are these really cool, I mean, stainless steel, very, very sturdy tubs. And so you're getting some of your money's worth there. And with the tallow formula, it was far less than a quarter teaspoon would be what I would need per shave. And so it's going to go for a long time. But if it's that vegan one, and he wasn't very happy with the lather at all. If you paid that much for an expensive French soap, and then you got the vegan, that would be unfortunate, wouldn't it? And so so I figured, hey, I'll try the vegan too, and that'll address something in my own mind as well. Maybe the junk lathers that I was remembering was from the vegan. Now, let's talk about this razor, and the reason I'm bringing it to you guys, I'm pretty excited to, for a couple of reasons. This is an English rocket. It does say made in England on the bottom, and I just recently learned as I was researching. I had one very much like this, but it's in the chrome color in my collection, and I showed it to you guys on the razor tour. But I couldn't really remember the name, whether it was an Aristocrat or a Aristocrat Jr. I mean, I knew it wasn't an Aristocrat, but whether it was an Aristocrat Jr. or if it had a set number or what. And so I did some research because the other one looked exactly like this one, except it was the chrome color. Now, the only other difference was this has the diamond base plate, not the flat, solid base plate. It's got that diamond bevel right there. And the other one does not. It's got that flat one. Well, that's very key. That means that this one is a gold rocket. It's not the Aristocrat set. It's a simple gold rocket. And The other one that has the flat base plate is a 51, an Aristocrat Jr. or a set number 51 is where that one came from. And so they are going to shave slightly differently because they have a different base plate design. And so I'll definitely be shaving with that other one at some point. And then during my research, I came across another fact by one person. Now, it is his opinion. I don't know if it's, excuse me, super true or not, but he said that he had rarely seen one with very much of the gold intact. Apparently, the gold wash that was used in these razors was very thin, and he said it was almost impossible to find one that had very much gold left in it, and a lot of it was clearly worn. But this one right here, I mean, you can tell it's got very little wear on it. Very little of the gold has been wiped off, has been worn off over time, and so that's really pretty cool. If his statement has held true over time, it was made a few years ago, then that makes this an extra special piece. Not all that common at all. And then the last thing was I learned why, and I think this is why they call them rockets. Look at the knob. Now, if the knob is a little bit bigger than the main handle part in terms of wider, which this one is slightly, if it's a little bit bigger, then yeah, we're talking about a rocket. If it's the same width, then we're talking about something in the rocket family called a parat, something like that. And that's Parat. But this one's not, because the knob is a little bigger. And why do they call it a rocket? Because watch the gap right here. As we open the doors, the gap disappears. Now, the super speed flare tips, the 40s style super speed, all of those, this doesn't change. If it starts looking like this and you move the doors, the gap doesn't increase or decrease. There's no change right there. So the rocket is the one. If you see it move up and down inside like that, that's the rocket. And I thought that was really interesting. It's the one that the mechanism here is designed to operate that way. Kind of a simpler mechanism too, because that means all you have to do is you can have one piece. Then the knob here, well, actually it is on a swivel, but you do have a swivel in there, but then the knob can be just directly connected up here to this center bar. The center bar comes across and connects to the side pieces, which lift the doors to make them open like that, and all that's one piece. And then there'll be some some threading in here that it moves up and down in. Whereas the other ones, you've got to have a more complicated mechanism to make it slide while this stays put. And so this is the PolSilver stainless, discontinued. It was a gift on another forum. A guy had a couple hundred of these and said, hey, here, just sign up and I will send you some of these blades. And the only condition was I would love it if you would post back on this thread your experience with them. And we'll enjoy the camaraderie, we'll enjoy communicating and learning about these blades as you guys put them through your uses. And I've used it a few times, and I've put those shaves as requested on that thread, and they've been enjoyed. You know me anyway, I kind of record my stuff, and I haven't mentioned it in a very long time, but this blade does have the little numbers. You can see a 3 right there. There's a 2 and a 1. When you're new to the hobby, you wonder what those are. Is that to help you remember how to flip it, that kind of thing? Nope. It's just for manufacturing purposes. It's for the factory. If they do some quality checking at the end of the factory, at the end of the run, and they discover there was a bunch of dud blades that didn't get set right, the bevel's not right, then they can look at the number and know which part of the machine to adjust or calibrate. so that everything's fixed. If there were no numbers, then they wouldn't be able to tell which one to adjust. All right, so the PolSilver stainless goes in. Now the soap, before the camera started rolling, I took a quarter teaspoon out, plus, as you can see, a little bit rounded, knowing that Warren had trouble with his vegan base, and the research I just now did before the shave said that, yeah, there's quite a performance difference between the vegan and the tallow base. And I decided to go with a rounded one, but we know that I did a flat one yesterday, the previous shave of the tallow, and it was plenty of lather. So, and this was very hard. This particular soap, I don't know if they're all that way, if all the soaps are that way. It hadn't been used in a while, but it was quite hard. I had to do more scraping than scooping. And then I would take the little shavings and press them down into the little teaspoon round part here. It's got a very dry feel to it. Coconut oil, that kind of stuff in there. In my reading, it did say that, because this is still offered on Maggard's website, you know, it may be an older soap in some respects, but it's still a current product and a traditional one. And they said that it's a vegan base, and it's got 10 different essential oils included in it that are designed to help your skin and to help relieve inflammation and all kinds of skin goodies and that kind of thing, as well as glycerin. And so I think maybe that might be why it's, if it's a junk lather, in fact, then that may be why it's lasted, because it's got some, you know, there are people who are vegan and are very proud of it, and they love the fact, even if they have to use inferior products to, you know, they consider it worth it because of what they believe they're doing for the things they believe in. So, with all that spread out around the bottom of the lather bowl, I am tired. If I do these late shaves with COVID here, I'm a little bit more tired than I would normally seem. We'll just get through it. Working on almost 24 hours of growth today. This is a big blooming brush. I've used it once before. I couldn't wait to get back into it again. I was talking with HD Shaves about it, and he actually bought one of these brushes from the original drop when it was released. And since it's a B4, that would have been a while ago, right? Shake a lot of the water out. And he said that people were complaining that it was a very thin declaration handle. And sure enough, even without knowing that, I did kind of gripe a little bit about the thinness of the handle during my first shave. It did work out though. Once the shave was in progress, I didn't really note that it was too thin or bothersome. I would prefer if it was a little, you know, thicker, but it's all good. So right away, we've got kind of that airy, bubbly stuff being what starts us off. That is neither good nor bad. It's only bad if that's all we ever get. And this is typical for some vegan soaps. I can tell that we haven't pulled up all the soap from the bottom yet. The bubbles are slowly starting to dissipate. I do have my 40 milliliters here that we'll pull from as we work up our lather. We're in a really nice place with vegan soaps. In recent years, there are many that are just terrific and can compete against tallow soaps. Used to not be the case. Used to be if you wanted that performance and that creaminess, you had to go with tallow. It's looking better. Haven't put too much water in it. I think I have discovered that some of the vegan soaps, they just can't quite handle, especially the older school vegan soaps, they can't quite handle all the water that I like to shove in my tallow soaps, the really ultra high performance tallow soaps. And so I think a trend I'm seeing is that I need to run them just a little drier. So far it's looking pretty good, still quite bubbly. This brush makes this lather bowl seem a lot smaller than some other brushes out there. The bloom is just so large that I'm very glad to have a bowl of this size. The tallow formula did have a kind of a fuzzy, cloudy type lather. It wasn't super, kind of creamy. It didn't have a creamy look to it where there was a dense creaminess. However, it did have a nice feel on the face. Let's just see how this guy feels between the fingers. There's a good little layer, a thin little layer of slickness there. It is quite different from the tallow version. Let's just see how it performs in real life. I haven't put too much water in it. Just 17 milliliters, something like that. Not a whole lot. Let's go ahead and stop just in case, because let's pull it up like I usually do for you guys and see what it looks like. Okay, it might be able to take some more, but since this is kind of an old school vegan formula, I don't think I'm going to push any more water into it. See, I can kind of make it stand up on its own if I hold it the right way, but then you turn it and it collapses. All right, let's give this guy a shot. LPL vegan. Water on my face, and here we go. The brush is so dense that it's almost like it doesn't really splay, because the umbrella is so large of just the tips. It's like it doesn't need display. But they're very soft. This lather does feel good on my face. we've got a lot of it kind of extra right there that's kind of being built up. And before that all just drops somewhere, let me collect it off. I was watching a video by HD Shaves during my commute today, and he was saying how he enjoys the painting motions like this, and that's how he generates his lather for the most part. He does scrub a little bit, but he mainly likes the painting, and I've remarked about that in the past, but hopefully never in a elitist, sort of way. I don't believe I have. I usually take a stance, pretty purposeful about taking a stance of, just do your own thing, whatever you enjoy, that's right for you, And but apparently other people have kind of griped at him about that, and so I commented on his video, something like, "Hey, don't sweat it," kind of a tongue-in-cheek, chin up, my good man, that sort of thing. And I said, you do you. If you're a painter, you just do that and enjoy it. And I actually think that if you just stick with the painting strokes, you may be introducing a little less air into your lather than scrubbers like me, like this swirling type scrubbing motion. And so you may end up with a different texture. And if you like that texture, then, be a painter, do it. So I can't remember if I ever finished my sentence. Yeah, I think I did. Told you that the vegan formula had about 10 different essential oils. And this was on Maggard's site. So, of course, it's going to apply to the current vegan formula. I don't know if they've changed the vegan formula from this one to that one. The ingredients look pretty much the same. All right. So, Gold Rocket. Now, the Rocket HD I showed you guys, it's got a similar head, but it has a thicker handle here, and it has a slight cutout right above with another shoulder right there, but it's got a thicker handle, heavier handle. All right, with the Wizamet stainless discontinued blade. Ooh, that is moving through the hair very easily. Not a whole lot of chatter. Very nice. There's a little bit of audio, but it's less chattery and more I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't feel, nor does it sound scrapey. It's moving through and cutting cleanly, and this blade is just a great match with this razor. It seems all right, nice. Well, the lather performed well. I had nice glide with the razor. The fact that I had so much excess come off of my brush, that leads me to think that I could probably add more water to this lather if I wanted to. And so that rounded 1/4 teaspoon, as you can see, has given us a good bit of lather. Plenty for 3 passes. It is not as good as the tallow, but so far it doesn't seem to be bothersome. Doesn't seem to be lacking. may have been, especially the tallow version, may have been kind of a top-notch soap a few years ago, but I think the newer bases have kind of relegated it back a little bit. I'm getting, again, good speed with the razor, good slickness. I think I feel kind of those essential oils. I do feel kind of an oiliness. It's not a lot of residual slickness here, so if you do, this is kind of common with the old school vegan soaps. If you do end up with having to go back and readdress an area, make sure you re-lather. All right, so I'm about to put on my third pass here, and I think the third pass really could be optional. Got a very, very close shave. And this is how much is left. Tons of lather left. Three, maybe 4 passes left. Oh, look how elastic that is. It's not dense, but you can see how hydrated it is. The weight there of the water, it makes it act that way. Well, I don't know if Warren's base is the same vegan base, but maybe this gives him something to think about if he wants to try to rework his lather. I don't remember if he ever mentioned if he was a bowl lather or a face lather. But yeah, a rounded 1/4 teaspoon got me plenty of lather. So a little bit less than a 1/4 teaspoon is going to be plenty for 3 passes. And it didn't take a whole lot of water. In this case, yeah, we're still looking at 17 milliliters of water for all this much lather. And that does sometimes happen with vegan soaps. All right. Shave this guy off. Well, this is a very nice little shaver. It's holding the blade well. I don't remember what price point these guys are, the Rockets. I don't think they're super cheap. They're not like a Super Speed, American Super Speed, or, like an Old Type or a Tech or something like that. They're a little higher. Maybe if you were over in England, they were, would be like 15 pounds or something like that, perhaps. Probably a little bit more, maybe 30 pounds. But I'm just guessing. Nice. I think we got a really close cut. Now, while the residual slickness wasn't quite there, after I'd shaved away, part of the my face area and was over here finishing up, if I wanted to go back here and touch up, it probably would have been good to relather like I was saying. However, once I put it back on my face, once I got the water in there, the rinse portion, I put that on my face. It was really a good feeling. Now, right now, my face is feeling a little tender and itchy. Now, why is that? Am I allergic to a vegan ingredient in there? Haven't really found anything I'm allergic to yet. Did the razor give me just a little bit of irritation? I'm not sure. Is it drying? Is it a drying effect from this particular soap base? I don't think so. Well, let's just whip out a Stirling balm. This one is Dunshire. It's a clone of Acqua di Gio, and it is not a strong smeller. It's fairly weak, very mild. So if you like the aquatic scent of Acqua di Gio, but you you want a very mild balm, then this is your man. Yeah, am I reacting to an ingredient? Very strange. It doesn't have the same feeling as razor rash from the, the edge of the blade. Maybe I'll have to use this same blade and a razor tomorrow with a different soap base. We'll see. My smell does seem to be slightly improving. Seems like over the past couple of weeks, as it went away, we're looking at maybe about 1% ability to smell. I could tell something was under my nose versus when it wasn't, but it was very, very, very faint. Now I believe maybe we're at 3% or 5% or something like that. I don't know how quickly it's going to come back. I don't know if it's going to come back fully. I don't know anything. But at least right now it does seem to be improving a tiny, tiny bit. So that's hopeful. All right. So I'm going to open up my rocket just a little bit to give it a good rinse. Nice flow through there. And I usually have a little hand towel over on the side to lay my blade on. And I told you how much water we used. And yeah, I've got a ton of lather left over. It's possible that Warren has experienced some of the, the iffiness I'm feeling right now, and that's one of the reasons he might not like it too much. Also, because it's quite remarkable how much water I did not use as I got this much lather, and so if he is experienced something very light and very like almost dissipating, leaves the brush really quickly, then he may be putting too much water in it, and this base just is kind of an odd duck and just doesn't need that much water, perhaps, which is very strange for such a hard base, for a base that I had to take the scrapings of, to press into the little measuring spoon. Anyway, tons of lather, slight bubbliness to it, but that didn't really mean a bad thing today. It did feel nice and fast on the face. It was lubricative. I assume it's protective, but we don't quite know since I am experiencing a little bit of irritation from this. And after a towel stropping, and you can see why I commented that it's almost as if it doesn't need display, because there are just so many tips already at play here that I think this is where this kind of experience is where that saying, wall of badger, these really soft tips, but it's like a wall here. Very dense, huge. So that was Pere Lucien. Looking forward to more experiments to see if perhaps I'm mildly allergic to something in the soap. The annoyance is starting to die down now, so it's not going to be long-lived. Or if I try another soap base, and then perhaps it's the edginess of the razor. But it hasn't been a problem yet, but I guess it could be that. Nice close shave today. Very happy with that. So Warren, here you go. Take that for what you will, and I'm really glad he mentioned what he did, because we've brought to you the vegan and the tallow base from LPL. Thank you so much for joining. I hope this helps you out in some way. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves.